Hi, welcome to the second NFT Tuesday webinar hosted by Binance, your favorite crypto exchange. My name is Maya. I'm from Prague, Czech Republic, and today I'm gonna help run this live stream. So what are NFT Tuesdays? NFT Tuesdays aim to give you a 360-degree view on the NFT topic. So whether you are a creator, developer, investor, or just like me, you're curious about what NFT is, each Tuesday you can learn something or even win something. So we have different topics. We have great experts. Basically, Binance brought the best for you. So please check the webinar schedule. It's for our future webinars. And mark Tuesdays in your calendar. I also encourage you to join Binance NFT's Telegram group. So if you have any follow-up questions or you want to share something with us, please join us. It's been almost 10,000 people there. Our previous webinar, NFT Explained, gathered more than 3,000 watchers. And now I think we are at around 55,000 views for the very first event. That wouldn't be possible without my charismatic colleague, David. Hi, David.
Thank you, Maya. Hi, Maya. Well, thanks to you.
David is a hardcore Binancean, and to some extent, he's our NFT evangelist. Can I say that?
Yes, you can. So basically, hi everyone. Today we've packed up a program with experts on the field of NFT. So we're going to begin with a fireside chat with Brendan from Bondly and Liz from Blockworks. You know Bondly because they're the ones that signed Logan Paul and did NFT with them. Then we're going to have a panel discussion with Juggernaut, Eularbit, and Sorare. Sorare, the French company Cocorico that does a card with football player. And it's going to led by the brilliant Scott from Decrypt that I had the chance to do many crypto clubhouse weekend review every Thursday on Clubhouse. One thing, today you're going to be able to win a share of our $5K dollars prize pool. The rules are extra simple. You must be registered for today's event, and you have to use this QR code here to register to the next one if you haven't already. Then we're going to do a random pool, and we will select 10 winners that are registered on the two events. So we're going to send you some questions. You're going to need just to attend this webinar to respond to it. And we really thank Bondly and Juggernaut for the generous prize pool. Really, thank you for everything and for this educational event. So last week, we've made a competition about NFT. So you were able to design your own NFT on Bakery. We have 3 winners. So the first prize is attributed to Popel. Bravo, Popel, for your work. Venance on the second position. You're winning $300 in Bake. Wise investment. And Eddie as well for the third prize. Bravo for your Game of Thrones on the moon.
I love it.
Yeah, it was excellent. So next week, buying NFT, bullish or bearish investment. We're going to speak about that later. But right now, I'm going to leave you with a fireside chat with Liz from Blockworks and Brendan from Bondly. Have a great moment, guys.
Oh, thanks to David and Maya for introducing us. Hi, Brandon. Nice to meet you here on the show today.
Likewise, Liz. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and get started and tell me a little bit about yourself and about Bondly as well.
Sure. So my background is I spent about the last 15 years of my career mostly working with big business, working in data analytics, working for the largest companies, specifically financial services. So for most of that, I was with PwC, where my clients were the biggest banks, biggest tech firms. And what I started to see there, one of the major things that we weren't getting over in terms of an e-commerce standpoint was understanding that this new wave of digital assets was coming, right? NFT being one of them. But in general, the whole world is opening up to this idea of having something that's almost natively digital entirely. So meaning like an Instagram account, meaning something like a piece of art now that we're talking about with NFT. But there's no real payment rails that are built for this purpose. So my career sort of led me up to Bondly to say, yes, Binance and many other places are doing a great job now with the cryptocurrency situation, like digital assets in terms of currency. we're really starting to get a major perspective on this. But what's coming now is a new class of assets that will use the cryptocurrency for them. But we're starting to really start to see that now with the use of NFT. So that's what bonding is for.
Okay, great. So so let's talk about NFTs since this is NFT Tuesday. You know, a lot of news probably in the last 2 months with the NBA Top Shots and then Beeple's $68.3 million sale there. Do you think that we are kind of at the hype curve? Where are we on the hype curve with NFTs? And I think the last 2 months went really fast up the hype curve, maybe faster than something else normally would. But why don't you talk a little bit about where we are with NFTs right now?
Sure. So I'd say in the overall adoption curve, we're extremely early, like in terms of how the potential of the technology and the actual users, like the ratio is completely different. Would I say that like where we are exactly on the hype curve of NFTs itself, it's really hard to say because like nobody can really predict that. But what I will say is that what we're predicting is we're going to go through this 80-20 to 20-80 shift of right now, people who are buying NFTs that are interesting ones, like I think the Logan Paul one was mentioned, the one we're doing with Louis Capaldi that's coming out soon. These ones, it's mostly the people who are buying them are people who understand cryptocurrency already. So I'd say like 80% of the group, and then 20% are new entrants. Like I think Top Shot, started very slow in its initial months. But all of a sudden, it gained this massive amount of traction, and people were really, really excited about it. They understood the value, they understood the concept. So I think that, in a micro way, is going to be what affects the macro market. So when we're talking, Liz, when we talk again in a year from now, I hope to see that it's 2080. Like we're getting new people who are entering in. Like for people, it was really foreign to buy a device like an iPad as part of their life, and now it's almost everybody has one. I think that's going to be the kind of concept with NFTs, that it's just like acceptable technology that everyone has.
And maybe bringing in a whole different group of people as well, because you've got the sports collectors who collected baseball cards, and maybe then they're like, oh my gosh, what is this? Now I want a digital baseball card. Or people that really like jazz music, they buy a CD, but now they might be interested in like, maybe I can own an exclusive NFT of a jazz musician that I really like, or something like that. So it's introducing a whole new audience, correct?
Oh, yeah. So I think you hit on two major things. So sports and music are two of the major pillars of our platform. So we just recently launched, made an announcement that we were partnering with Liga MX, which is one of the largest football leagues. And we're super happy to start making a very gamified platform with them relating to their players, teams, and at a league level. So really exciting times for sports. I think Top Shot really represents a product that is very much based around nostalgia. So you have a moment of it in time that you spent with a player that you're watching. But I think there's so much more potential for different things relating to sports. What's happening during a game? Can you imagine getting airdropped an NFT of each play that's happening during a game, right? These are kind of really exciting models that we're playing with to really turn into, make this really an exciting like integration point for sports. The other part of it is music. So we have a massive list of signed artists that we're working with on various projects. And one of the ones that's really exciting for us is the one that's coming out today is they drop with Currency. So Currency is making one of the first, if not the first, full NFT released album. So you can buy a 7-track version of it today, and each one of the album that you buy, each one of the tracks is actually its own NFT. It's a full song. It's the only place that it will be released. It'll have unique art per each one. And it's being released today. So it comes with all types of perks relating to his album and what he's doing. So I think the space for music is endless. So thinking about back catalog, thinking about future releases, this is a next generation of a fan club for a musician, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about music, because I think that's a really interesting angle to NFTs that, for me personally, I am really interested in understanding how you would buy an NFT piece of music. How does that work? So nobody else can listen to it? Or is it like you own the licensing of the music, and if a radio station wants to play this, then you could, reap rewards from that? How does an NFT of a piece of music work?
Yeah, I think it's good to set the context of the whole music space right now. And I'm really thankful for Peliquet, who actually released the first ever NFT album in this model. And he's been one of the ones. He's a really famous YouTuber and has been releasing music for over 15 years. what the process with music right now is, it's extremely difficult to get paid as an artist for what you do, because the actual listening of the music itself and the song of it is very much a commodity. Like, you can go on YouTube, you can search it, you can find it, even if it's not uploaded by the artist, it's there. It's on Spotify. I listen to it for almost for free, right? So the listening part of it isn't the aspect. What we're targeting with an NFT is really somebody who would buy vinyl for that artist. So they might never listen to that record, right? But they have it on their wall. For us, it's the same thing. That NFT might be enhanced with a track or with music or some visual piece. But realistically, it's really making connective tissue between the artist and the fan. That's what we're really excited about.
You know, speaking from me personally, my house is full of collectors. I've got kids that collect vintage video games. My husband collects albums and books. And, you know, I can see with the music space, especially, bringing in a whole new audience of people that might not be interested or might never even heard of cryptocurrencies in the past. So I just want to pause and tell the audience that we are taking questions. So if you have any questions from Brandon, please send them in through the chat. Let's talk about the sale of Beeple's art and inflated expectations. Do you think that we're just getting started with pieces of art that could sell for $69.3 million, or, you know, with people? Like, where are we on price expectations for art?
Right. So I it's really, that's super hard to say, but I will say this, right? I think it's going to go wide rather than tall. That makes sense. Like, will we next week, will we have 169, and then will we have 269? I don't know if this is like the progression of the top, where that is. I think it can easily be beaten, right, with the right type of product. But I don't think that you should use that as an indicator and we escalate from there. I think what's way more attractive is, how do we create these fun experiences that multiple fans can enjoy, not just a single wealthy auction winner, which I love, you guys, by the way. I'm also I also participate in a lot of auctions too for arts I like. But I want to just be clear, like, this should be a more like a community experience too, right? That's I think that's more impressive to us, that we can get a wider group that's brought into a fandom, meaning that we don't treat the NFTs at the lowest dollar either. I don't think that's the right answer, or just give everything for free always. That's not the answer either. But there is a healthy mix of making sure there's fair compensation, but using this really like Web3. Like for us, this is like really finally we see Web3 coming in and being a major part of, you know, the mainstream adoption. It's really through NFT.
So what has been the most, from Bondley's perspective, what has been the most, you know, popular NFT you've launched, and why do you think that is?
So yeah, so I think it's one of the things that we haven't, other ones we talked about. So we did one with Logan Paul, Tory Lanez, we had many like celebrity related, music related drops. But I think one I would want to talk about is Polka Pets. So Polka Pets is something that's not our brand. It's another brand that did it, but we're supporting from a technology standpoint at a very heavy level to make sure it's a success. Why it's great is we are tapping into nostalgia like we talked about, but it's more along this kind of nostalgia of the
like
Monster Collector game. Yeah. So we have a collector in this house too, me, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think the beauty of that Monsters Collectibles game is like you can create these teams of things you like, and then that aspect of like finding all of them and getting them on your team. Like there's all these really great elements of a game like that. But what we've done is like, how do you compete with Pokemon? You can't really, right? What you do instead is every one of the monsters in our game is actually another project on Polkadot, some of which are listed on Binance now. And that way, each of the projects are all working together for a marketing push to present their monsters. Like Bonnley has 3 monsters in the game too. And yeah, some of the other projects do as well. And I think it really does make this sort of universal appeal that you can like, I'm already seeing like lots of trading, like some new mechanics. And we're really excited that this is basically the revenue from this game, from the NFTs, is going directly into the game development. So that's the really exciting part. Yeah.
So I guess if you could talk a little bit about what people should look for when they're going to invest in an NFT, you know, what would be something that is good to invest in versus something that's bad to invest in? And I don't want you to give specific investment advice here, but like what should people watch out for? When they're buying
reframe
NFTs.
the question a little bit. So like what has been key value drivers up to this point, right? So I think it's definitely nostalgia factors. I think it's community support. So like what gives anything value, right? It's the fact that you have eyeballs, you have people, you have hearts, you have minds, right? Even USD, even GBP, they have enough people that say that it's worth something, right? So I think that from a general value standpoint, when you look at something that now, let's say a famous artist would put out, I'm trying to be specific, but yeah, a famous artist would put out, and there's an inherent value from their fans that makes it valuable to them. And there's a whole bunch of factors, but if you boil it down, there's definitely a community aspect. There's definitely a quality aspect of the item, right? For sure. And then I think that the other part of it that we don't really talk about is the perks on top of this. Like, how does this connect you more to who made it? Like, that's a really exciting part. I think Currency is really doing that today with his drop, where he's basically making this this fan engagement session today with his fans for who buys his NFT. So it's very much almost in real time that you have this exciting connection to them. So I think that you know, in the future we'll start to see a lot more of this.
Okay. Speaking of the future, let's talk about the future and what you can expect, or what you think is going to happen the rest of this year with regards to NFT. And I just one final comment to the audience. If you have any questions, we're about 5 minutes out from finishing with Brandon, so please send in any questions. But Brandon, what can we expect for the rest of this year with regard to NFTs?
Yeah, so I think we're going to see a lot more really interactive experiences, both in things like metaverse projects. Like I highly recommend everyone to go start to look into the metaverse projects that are coming out. For example, Network, for example, the Atari Multiverse. Like, these are projects that I think not only do they add new things. Oh, and sorry, Chain Guardians, of course. So I would say that what's beautiful about these things is you have these NFTs, and they by themselves are items, right? But what these other things are, they're digital worlds that you can bring these items into. So we're thinking about, you talk about utility or perks, that in itself is great. So of course it makes sense to, I would say, don't buy a new house right now, buy digital land. Honestly, I think it's much better. And honestly, that's really might be your most important real estate, is something that's not actually physical.
Right. Digital land.
Yeah.
So we've got a bunch of questions coming in. So I just want to, first question from Bear Bar is Blue What? He says, what do you think about a bear market starting, and how will it affect NFTs? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think that this cycle, I mean, I think most people would agree that we're in a bull market right now. And I think that the cycle has been extended because of NFTs, because usually what's happened throughout the past cycles is we've had sort of this run up, and then we've had this top, and then we have a ramp down. But I think because a lot of the energy momentum is going into NFTs as these alternative assets that are growing in value, we're not going to see the same type of cycle that we've had before. So we're in uncharted territory. We've never had adoption like this. Never seen these kind of brands come in. So is there going to be two cycles? I mean, probably, but it won't feel like prior cycles because of how things are going. Yeah, I would just say now's the time to find alternative assets like NFTs to maybe take some, if you've been in for a while, like take some off the table and look for other things you can invest in, because yeah, definitely. Interesting.
So I've got another question here from KP. It says, can we sell real paintings as NFTs too? So can you take a real painting and make a digital version of it and sell it? That's a really interesting concept.
So let's go both ways, right? So you can take your physical painting and then you can sell it as an NFT. So you can sell it as with an NFT that comes with it, right? And our product stack is built for that. Like, everything we're doing at Bondly is designed specifically to facilitate that, for sure. And that's exciting because it basically works as a proof of authenticity. Also, you can do things like sell digital prints of it, right? Let's say you make 5 versions of the digital version of that piece of art. Yeah, there's definitely a value set in that. But now let's flip it entirely to the fact that you can actually sell the NFT in an NFT auction and then give the winner the physical piece. That's really, I think, where we need to be going from a mindset standpoint. Because honestly, there's a lot of times when people don't actually want the physical piece. Actually, it might make more sense and it's more scalable being digital that they can put on their wall. And but they want to know they have it, right? They still have it, so that can go into some sort of custody model. We're working with several major art institutions around this, and like basically the physical thing still stays in a vault, right? It's still there, but you basically have the proof of that is also the digital version. So
interesting. And I've got one more question, and then we're about out of time. But can you provide resource and guidelines for artists, musicians, and actual developers on how to create our own NFTs? This is a really long, involved question, but I think you could probably sum it up pretty quickly on maybe like the first couple steps people should take.
Yeah. So there's two levels of that. So one, we're going to have like really nice interfaces for our product called Bomb Protect Marketplace, which is coming out fairly soon, and that's designed for non-technical people to be able to create their first NFTs, and it's using BSC and Polygon, right? So meaning low transaction fees, right? So the other aspect of that is, yes, we're going to have a set of developer tools that we're already working with major institutions on how you can basically use Bondly to power their backend. And they're basically Bondly token becomes a mechanism for them to use our services. So they're required to stake a certain amount, and then part of their revenue share is also used to buy Bondly token. So, and in general, that's how the model works. And I think in the future that'll be how things work. Yeah.
Okay, great. So people can look for more information on Bondly about how to like upload their art and everything.
Yes, please join our Telegram. We're happy to talk to you there. Like, and if you buy one of our NFT products, you can also join our VIP group. So like talking about access, right? By buying one of our cards, you get into our VIP group amongst many other benefits, including no platform fees from our products. So so yeah, please join us.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, Brandon. This is Liz Coin from Blockworks. We're a news site that covers Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies for the institutional audience. So be sure to check us out. And now I will hand it back over to David and Maya. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Liz.
Hi, we are back. Thanks for sharing priceless insights, Brendan. And I do agree with you that nostalgia is one of the driving factors when it comes to NFTs. And surely, Liz, kudos for moderating. So hopefully we'll see a lot more from Bondly very soon in top tier media, because it looks like the guys are about to shake even the e-commerce industry. So let's see what the future holds. Almost 2,000 people are watching us, and I see people from Brazil, France, Canada, Sri Lanka, which it's almost midnight there, Mexico. Drop us a message. Which country are you watching us from? And thanks for being with us today. So I believe we can still encourage people to join the webinar. We are not yet done. We have a lot more. David, will you tell us about the next panel, and also there are a few questions about the competition. So
yes. So first, thank you, Liz and Brendan. When I grow up, I want to be like Liz. She's a model and of elegance and classiness. Basically, we're going to switch to the panel discussion now with Brian and Scott from Decrypt, where he's going to be with the team of Juggernaut, Sora, and Eulerbit. One in, there's one French. If you find it, I'm going to give you an NFT. Just joking. And then just for the prize pool, because we saw a lot of questions on the chat. So in order to participate, you must be registered to today's event on Eventbrite and to the next one. In order to find the next one, you just have to select this QR code. And we will select 10 winners from the Eventbrite with correct answer, because we're going to send you a question about this webinar. Voila. So next is the fireside, is the panel discussion with Scott. I let Scott begin this session now.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our panel discussion on NFTs. With me today, we've got Brian, Nacho, and Tyler. I think what would be great at the beginning is just if I could put the floor to you guys, and you can sort of say a little bit about yourselves, what you do, and who you are.
Who should start? Should I start then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it. Okay, cool. Thanks, Scott. So Brian from Sober. Sober, we are the global fantasy football game based on, digital cards that are officially licensed football NFTs. And I'm leading growth over there, and we've partnered with over 140 clubs. We've got football players that have invested in the company, and we have over 30 million volume worth of cards traded every month last month. And yeah, that's about it. It's all about football and NFTs.
Brilliant. Nacho, how about you?
Hello, thank you very much for hosting me. I'm Nacho from Spain, co-founder of Juggernaut. I want to introduce briefly Juggernaut. At Juggernaut, we are a NFT and DeFi infrastructure, and we are creating an NFT ecosystem with full BSC compatibility. We are building the platforms and the tools for the other projects to use, new NFT games, collections, and an exciting NFT exchange focused on BSC called jgnft.com with open access to BSC NFTs as a whole.
Brilliant, brilliant. And Tyler, why don't you round us off? Sorry, Tyler, I just have to stop. I can't actually hear you. Can anyone hear Tyler or?
Nope.
Right. Okay, I think we'll just we'll leave Tyler for a minute just as he sorts out his mic. Just to kick us off, then I guess what would be a really good way to start is obviously NFTs have really sort of dominated headlines over the last couple of months. That the growth has been pretty big. I'd like to get some insights from you guys as to, to echo off what we've already heard today. Where do you think we are in terms of the growth curve for NFTs? Do you think that we've hit our peak or our top, as we say, or do you think that growth is going to continue? I just see that Tyler's coming back in. So Tyler, why don't you try and introduce yourself, and then we can kick off.
Yeah, don't know what, I guess the Apple iPad, the iPods, right? So Tyler Mulvihill, co-founder of Trium.io, and also we are the ones who put on Euler Beats. It's actually pronounced Euler, not Euler. He's a Swiss mathematician, so it's the Deutsche pronunciation. Euler Beats is what I'm kind of representing here, but there's a lot going on in both. So for Trium, we're a platform that helps other businesses and organizations and creators and musicians and artists launch their curated NFT projects. And Euler Beats was one of those that we dog-fooded ourselves, which combines generative art and music, on-chain royalties, rights, terms and conditions with beautiful, kind of weird, guttural crypto art and music. So we had some success a couple weeks ago where Mark Cuban called this the most genius idea ever. I never thought that would ever happen, but it certainly helps for the headlines. But a fan of all these projects, so good to be here.
Good stuff. Thanks for that, Tyler. So just to kick us off, I was just saying that I think it'd be a really good idea to sort of get an estimate from each of you as to where we sort of sit in the NFT industry. Obviously, we've seen a lot of growth for the last couple of months or so. Do you think that we've sort of hit our top, or do you think that NFTs are set to grow even further? If so, where do you think we're going to see them? What stage do you think we're going to see them reach? But the inverse of that as well is something that I'm interested in. Do we all think maybe that the NFT boom has been a bit of a fad in the wider crypto industry, and do you think it's going to run out of momentum potentially in the future? Brian, should we start with you? Sure.
Thanks, Scott. No, definitely there's been a lot of hype around NFTs recently, and I wouldn't know, and I wouldn't be able to say if it's a top or not. I think there's different criteria that we can look at. What's important is maybe from my perspective, the number of IPs coming on chain through NFTs. I clearly don't think we at a top on this. We'll see more and more IPs, and that's just very positive. The second thing is really about what we do with these NFTs today. Most of the NFTs are about collecting and collectibles, and you can just really own them, but you can't do anything with it. So regarding this, I think the next step is really building utility around these NFTs. And regarding this, again, we're not at the top at all. So utility in games, utility as experiences offline, as experiences online, but there's so much more to come. And so I clearly don't think as a whole that we are on the top. It's not a fad, it's a changement of paradigm, and I'm really excited for the future.
Brilliant. Nacho, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so I think when a technology is called a fad by some people, it has reached a point where it has a lot of A-buzz on it. It's on the spotlight. And I think the question we had to ask ourselves is, are collectibles going to die? We are at the top of the collectible market. I mean, there are a lot of collectibles around the world. There are rookie baseball cards, NBA cards, for example, where I come from, for Spain. We, as a kid, traded a lot of soccer cards. All the kids in school traded soccer cards. Is that going away? I don't know. I think there will always be a market for that because I think as humans, we like to collect things. We want to relate to our stuff. And even if the NFT market crashes in six months, we have no idea. But I think there's still going to be a market for NFTs, and a global market for NFTs, obviously with ups and downs as every other market in the world.
Good stuff. Tyler?
Yeah, I think a non-fungible token is actually just a digital representation of something natively digital or physical. So I think the world, like we at Trium imagine a world where every single thing that's unique is tokenized. I think we're getting there, and I think that COVID and where we all are, hopefully safe and sound, has exponentially increased the time that we'll get there. So as far as the NFT world, and really we should, I think we should kind of like hang up the number, if you will, of NFTs, and NFTs are just non-fungible art, and we should call everything else like non-fungible everythings, like NFEs, because they kind of like captured that. So I think from traditional NFTs, no way. Like we're not even close. We're not even at 0.01% of the world being digitized. So I'm actually really excited about how you start composing these collectibles with decentralized finance, with collateral, with new experiences, with games that actually mean something that you could not invest in, but you could participate in meaningfully and not waste time, but actually create, something meaningful. So I think, from the collectible space, the amount of artists that have entered this space, I think, is also less than 1%. So I don't even think we're close to proliferation to any context. But as far as like, can I still make money buying at the bottom and selling at the top? Like, I don't like answering those questions because I think those people are, there's a place for them. But I think we're all here because we love this decentralized world, and that's the most exciting thing for me.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. And obviously, we've talked a little bit about some of the biggest sort of areas that NFTs have penetrated, right? We've talked music, we've talked about art, sports, games have been mentioned as well. What's next for NFTs? Do you think that the NFT industry is just going to continue to penetrate these arts really, or is it something that's going to spread into other industries that we maybe have seen less of so far? Anybody can jump in. Okay,
I'd like to start if possible. Okay, I think that instead of asking about the specific industries, because obviously that's very difficult considering how NFTs are, you don't know where the population, where everyone is going to be most excited about NFTs. I think we need to start talking about innovation. And I think that the next phase for NFTs is bringing DeFi and NFTs together as a network of incentives. I think we can do something really cool and exciting with technology, and that's what we should focus on. For example, gamifying experiences. You can gamify experiences in the gaming industry, sure, but you can also do it in the retail sector, on the construction sector. There are a lot of potential there. I think we can bring the DeFi spirit about staking and decentralization and all those kind of networks to NFTs, and not necessarily to individual industries. Obviously, gaming is seen as like the next big thing because it has a lot of potential. I feel like the gaming community really is the most welcoming to new innovations in the space. And for example, at Dragon, we're working on a bunch of cool innovations in bringing DeFi and NFTs together.
Brilliant.
I can add to that. Yeah, we can go like around now. We can go counterclockwise.
Yeah, sure.
I totally agree with Nacho that the tactical move is to merge the maturity of DeFi with now the maturity of NFTs. I think it's a no-brainer. It's also cool. There's tools there. There's composability. There's interest. We're experimenting. So you'll see all projects. I mean, for Euler Beats, we just announced staking last week. So staking NFTs to receive benefits, which is automating the royalty stream. So we're definitely going to see that. I think what we're also going to see is utility. To Brian's point, like you can't do a lot of stuff with NFTs. There's still utility in putting it on your Twitter profile or putting it in your metaverse, like art gallery, but like serious utility as in like getting a royalty stream from them, for example, like Euler Beats, or using them in conjunction with something else to unlock something else. So now we have all these tools that are kind of ready to be consumed, which we can start consuming. But I think what people have really taken the eye off the ball is like we're making just digital versions of a lot of the physical stuff we're used to. And I think that's part of the reason that Top Shot was so successful is because people were already trading cards. It made sense. But now we have this new technology, and a lot of the stuff that we done in the past, like it can be better. So I think in the past, my whole life, I don't think I've bought anything other than maybe a small barter on like, a Craigslist or something, or an auction or a fixed price. But like, have I ever bought anything using a bonding curve? Well, I just did last week. I bought a couple prints for Euler Beats. So like the financial, the cool different ways that we can price discover, people really aren't experimenting with that on scale, and that's going to be one of the coolest thing. Like, and that goes back to DeFi. So all you, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. Yeah, on my side, I'm a bit less excited about NFTs and DeFi just because I think the potential for mass adoption is smaller. There's only a fraction of people that understand DeFi, a fraction of people that understand NFT, and you put it together, just a niche with a niche together. So for me, I'm really excited about stuff that can, bring these, NFTs or DeFi to the mainstream, one or the other. And so I think, my thesis is that gaming will be the biggest category, even though it can be very different, but will be the biggest category and biggest driver for NFT growth without needing to understand what are NFTs behind. Stuff like ticketing is also very interesting, and coming back to the idea of royalties, on Early Beats as an artist, on Sober as a football club, being as a ticket seller, being able to get a royalty in the secondary market whenever someone resells his ticket is also very exciting. So I think all these kind of really mainstream use cases are the ones that will get to that mainstream adoption without needing to go to DeFi before.
Brilliant. And thank you for that, guys. I think it's a really interesting discussion, what NFTs can do for DeFi, what DeFi can do for NFTs. And to sort of stay on the subject of mainstreaming NFTs, but sort of to segue more broadly into mainstreaming crypto, what do we think rather about how we can actually go about, how all of you would go about mainstreaming NFTs or bringing people in to the wider crypto industry? The people, for example, think of people that don't know what, say, Bitcoin is, like the most famous cryptocurrency that there is, pretty much. People that have no experience / interest in the industry beforehand. They've seen NFTs all over the media and they've seen people writing about it for the last couple of months and they don't know anything about NFTs or crypto. What are the actual material strategies to get people more involved, and why would you all say that they need to know about these things? Let's start with Tyler.
It's a really good question. So I think that the good part is that there's enough crypto native users that we can serve them now. And we can also feel the pull from the crypto market, the early adopters, which we should be serving right now, rather than pushing our blockchain solutions, like running around like a hammer, like we've done for the past 4 years. This is a great change of pace. But that being said, there's another category of users, which is like, I would do it if it was just a little bit easier and I understood a little bit more. So we built a fiat onboarding flow that's extremely Web 2 focused. So you can log in with your Gmail or your Facebook or whatever. You can pay with a credit card. We'll send you an email. You can claim that token, meaning actually put it in your own crypto wallet, or we can custody it for you until which time you realize that you really want to go fully Web3 native. So it's this kind of it's bridging the gap of what we can do, what's possible, and what we can do right now. That's worked out really, really well for some of our customers. And then frankly, just building tools for other really, really smart people to build their own experiences and getting their own customers involved. So not necessarily, holding the world on our shoulders, but providing the platform and tools for other people to do so, which is what the Trium tradability platform is all about.
Brilliant. Nacho?
So I think there's an important thing to really think about is that finance does not interest everyone. It's a simple concept, but sometimes I feel like for crypto and blockchain related projects, it's a hard concept to understand, is that DeFi finance does not interest everyone. But I feel like art and creativity, and that's what really the NFTs are bringing to the table, is something almost universal at different levels, of course. But soccer, NBA Top Shot, or music, it's very different. But at the end of the day, it's a form of creativity of creators and customers. And I think this is a movement that has already started. So I think mainstreaming of NFTs has already started. There are a lot of famous people promoting NFTs, from Pelé to Paris Hilton, I don't know, Snoop Dogg, and even Mike Jagger. So it's kind of crazy to see the growth. I think when we have to realize that at the moment that really crypto becomes mainstream, blockchain becomes mainstream, people are going to use it without the need to understand it. They won't need to understand it. They will simply just use it. So I think mainstream NFTs would be simply that. People experiencing fun and cool stuff and doing things online without some of them even knowing they're trading or buying or selling or creating NFTs, just doing something fun and relatable.
Thanks, Nacho. Brian?
Yeah, I think so. There's a very good quote from Chris Bernisk on this 2 days ago that DeFi tells the blockchain story to the financial masses, and basically NFTs tell the blockchain story to the cultural masses. And I think that's very true. Basically, if you want to bring it to the mainstream, we need people using NFTs without knowing these are NFTs, but realizing what the benefits are of using NFTs. And in the case of gaming, for instance, it's like using an asset that you can use in other games. So I'll give you an example. It's a bit of a shameless plug, but with Switchere cards, you can use your cards in Switchere's game, the fancy football game, but you can also use them in other games. For instance, Ubisoft built a game on top of our cards, and so the vision is to have these cards as access to multiple gaming experiences at the same time. And I think that kind of completely changes the game and the gaming industry at large, and that's why you have so many gaming companies that are looking really into this as kind of a change of kind of business paradigm. And so I think that's really where it's interesting as a player, that okay, now I can have access to multiple experiences with this item, which is an NFT, but you don't necessarily need to understand it's an NFT. You just realize it by using it.
Brilliant. And I want to sort of segue into we're talking about the masses here who maybe haven't experienced NFTs firsthand or the wider world of crypto. One of the criticisms that the crypto world keeps seeing, in large part unrelated to NFTs, we're talking about the Bitcoin network. There's been a lot of pushback about carbon footprints and environmental impacts and things of that sort. While a lot of those stories and a lot of that conversation is dominated by the Bitcoin network, NFTs has also sort of been dragged into this discussion as well. We're talking about blockchain efficiency. We're talking about whether or not this is something that needs to be addressed as a long-term problem for NFTs. So I'm interested to hear what you all three of you have maybe heard about any sort of criticisms coming from environmentalists or people that just think that this is an undue waste of energy, basically. I'd start with Brian. We'll go right back to you this time.
Yeah, I think it's the same debate then with Bitcoin and basically proof of work. Is it environmentally friendly or not? Clearly, to some extent, it is not, because it uses energy, and that energy is not necessarily always green energy, even though it is most of the time. But for most blockchain, it's kind of a short-term problem, because with layer 2 solutions, scaling solutions, and ETH 2.0, this issue will become less and less of a problem. So, and I think also we need to compare it to something that's comparable. So when you think about DeFi, is DeFi, for instance, environmentally friendly? Well, then we should compare it to the existing financial system. And so it's very hard to kind of measure, how much energy is consumed by the current financial system today. Also, so I think it's the wider kind of is blockchain environmentally friendly or not? It's maybe not perfectly environmentally friendly today, but it's getting better and better, and I'm sure it's a problem that we'll solve in the future.
Brilliant. Tyler, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, not much to add. I mean, I think sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. The net amount of energy that I think blockchain will save at its net is absolutely insane. The amount of coordination costs, the amount of people running the same computer and reconciling the same information, the amount of people time that involves. I think all of this is just overlooked a lot of the times, but we have to always try to be better. So these are good conversations to have, good conversations to focus on. Hopefully it lights a fire on ETH 2. I think we're all waiting. We waited a long time, so we're excited for that. But Brian said it pretty well.
Brilliant. Nacho, anything to add?
Yeah, I think Brian explained it really well. I think behind this type of questions are numbers. Sometimes it's difficult to understand those numbers. For example, we all have heard about Bitcoin and all the energy it consumes, and it equals to a big country. But what does that really mean? And what's the equivalent in the banking sector, for example? It's very difficult to quantify. I mean, how are you going to do it? It will be insane to think about it. And I think it is NFTs are digital, and everything digital at the end of the day is something that can be improved rather quickly. And the physical form is kind of difficult to for example, make environmental paper. It's difficult. It's not a simple process, but digitally there's a lot that can be done and can be improved really fast. But it's, as Tyler says, it's good to have this kind of conversation.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Another potential conversation that the NFT industry needs to perhaps have and continue having. should NFT marketplaces be regulated? And if so, how can they be regulated? And I would like to ask all of you to sort of focus on a perspective of consumer protection. We've obviously seen a lot of NFTs being sold for a lot of money. Their resale value might not necessarily match that initial sale. So where are we in terms of consumer protection and educating people if they're interested in getting involved in NFTs to make sure that they keep safe in sort of interacting with this industry? Let's start with Nacho. Why don't we go right back to you?
Okay, so NFT is an emerging space. I think every time there's a new space, especially in technology, there are always talks of regulation because it's something difficult to control. Everything related to technology, especially to decentralized technology, is something difficult to control. But NFTs are kind of very broad. It's nothing is the same in the NFT space. So I think the question comes down to which part of the NFT space you want to regulate. When it comes to regulation, it really depends on what you want to regulate. It's from a securities perspective. Do you feel like people are investing in things that they don't understand and they should be considered something else? It's from a money laundering perspective, people trying to launder money using NFTs, or is it something else? I think that there needs to be a clearer understanding on why they want to regulate before answering that kind of questions.
Sure. Brian?
Yeah, I think, the same thing as Nacho. It's very early stage. NFTs are an entity from a legal standpoint that we still haven't defined in all countries, actually. So, regulating NFT marketplaces without knowing exactly what we want to do and why we want to do it is probably not the way to do it. I think also from a national perspective, if I'm the US right now and I'm regulating an NFT marketplace a bit too hard, then it's a loss of sovereignty on that marketplace if it's based in the US or if it, operates in the US. So there's a bit of kind of, technological sovereignty that goes into play in politics. So I think it's very early stage, and I would expect these conversations to happen a bit more later down the year or next year in 2 years' time, when we have a bit more of an understanding of how these assets are traded and used, and especially within games and other applications. Obviously right now it's massive hype, valuations are skyrocketing, but it's a kind of a bullish market. So it's everything's a bit overvalued maybe.
Right. Tyler?
I'll give you a slightly different answer because I think I agree with both you guys. I think we could do a lot better with telling people what they're buying, or at least explaining this from a legal perspective. So we spend a lot of time and a lot of money with lawyers to make sure that the terms of service for Euler Beats were extremely clear. I go back and look at some of the stuff I bought on OpenSea, and I'm like, I want to put this on a T-shirt, but I don't even know if I can. And so that's like zero. But what we've done is the opposite. So we made it extremely clear that the originals have commercial rights, and so Snoop Dogg is now doing a drop. I guess it's closing in a few hours with BeatStyle and Nyan Cat. So we're talking like real people are entering this world, and if we're not clear about our terms of service, there's going to be issues. You guys probably work in this. It's like half our jobs now, right? But we put our terms of service on chain. So now it's not only the NFT is on chain and the script to generate it's on chain, but the terms of service are on chain. So I think we're going to see a lot more stuff like that, and a lot more please rip and replace our terms of service because they're good, and use them if they apply to you, because it bothers me that I want to do stuff with NFTs, but a lot of times it's unclear what I can do. And that's where people stop innovating. And that's what we don't want right now.
Right. Thank you guys for that. I think we'll pivot now to some questions from the audience. I have a question here from Sadiq, which I think is a really good question. What's the major competitive advantage of NFTs compared to, well, he's described them as other cryptocurrencies. I suppose we can have a comparison or a conversation between NFTs and Bitcoin or any other crypto asset that you'd like to discuss. Let's go with Nacho.
Okay, so he's asking what are the competitive advantages of NFTs compared to cryptocurrencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think cryptocurrencies are finance, and NFTs may or may not be finance, but they are really about creative processes. So it's a bit like comparing apples to pears. So I think NFTs can be a great equalizer. Not everyone can access the finance industry, unfortunately, but NFTs sometimes can be hard to access, especially with all the transactions. But other times they're really cheap, and they have They're a gateway to an immersive world. You sometimes only need an internet connection. For example, at our platform, jgnft.com, we offer free creation of NFTs on the BSC ecosystem. So if anyone is interested in creating NFTs and see for themselves how they are different than other cryptocurrencies, they can go there, click on create, and it's a free process. It only costs a transaction fee that is really small because of the BSC network. And I think NFTs are something that needs to be experimented with, rather than discussed about. I mean, we can spend all day comparing cryptocurrencies with NFTs, but as it's something nostalgic in a way and creative, I think they need to be experimented. And when you buy an NFT or when you create an NFT and there are people interested in that, or you can create memes and create a community, I think that's a whole different experience.
Brilliant. Why don't we go up to you, Brian?
Regarding the same question?
Yeah.
So I think, it really comes back to the definition of, what's a token and what's a non-fungible token. So like a token is that is fungible is, a Bitcoin and another Bitcoin are more or less fungible. So they would be the same. And the same thing, same for a dollar and another dollar. And an NFT is basically a token that's unique. And that has a unique ID or unique IP attached to it. And so when it comes to, for instance, Switchere cards, what we do is we do cards of football players on the blockchain, and all these cards are unique because they have a serial number. It's a unique player for a unique season with unique properties. And so you don't collect a coin, you collect a card, or you collect a collectible, and then this card can be used in games or can be used in other experiences. This card could represent a ticket to football stadium, for instance. And that's what's unique. If you look at tickets in the real world, they are all unique because it's a unique ticket that will give you access to the concert of Snoop Dogg, for instance. So yeah, I think it's a massive difference. There's far less speculation. It's not as tradable, or it's not as liquid at some extent. So coming back to what Tyler was saying, I think it's very important to understand the nature of NFTs and how they work. When you buy a piece of art, it doesn't have the same liquidity as when you buy a token such as Bitcoin that you can resell, any day, anytime, anywhere. So yeah.
Brilliant. Just in the interest of time, I think, Tyler, I'll give you another question before we run out of time here. You mentioned Snoop Dogg. We've talked about celebrities here and there throughout this whole conversation. A question that we've got from the audience from Greece186. They are asking if you all think that celebrities might be the road to success for the NFT industry or not.
Yeah, one road. There's going to be many roads and many highways and spaceships, and this world's going to get crazy. So I think if you're a celebrity and you have an audience, you can consider this another asset that you can sell them. So this is another piece of content. It just so happens to be digital. We just so happen to think it's really cool. But I mean, if they came out with a lunchbox the next day, their fans would buy that too. So I think that's, as a celebrity, that's how I would think about it very in the short term. But in the long term, as a celebrity, I should be thinking about using NFTs to build a moat around my entire brand, to give people access to me, to connect with my fan. I mean, if Snoop Dogg sells an album, he has no idea who that person is. And it's really, I guess, I'm not sure how much of the royalties he owns and stuff, but the IP that he owns, but like, this is a whole different paradigm. You can connect directly with people, and it's only a matter of time before the messaging to those tokens gets much better. So it's like, it's not only going to be like, I know who bought this, but I can send them messages, I can invite them to stuff, I can start aggregating tokens. So the cool stuff that's going to happen with celebrities, and I think as with reality TV show, NFTs are going to bring them closer to the people that they are. Like half the people on this call are celebrities now, like in the crypto world, right? Like everybody knows Brian from Switchere and Nacho. So and certainly Decrypt. So like I would use this as a way to strengthen your brand. But I think we keep having to think that this is like a playground where we're experimenting, and the NFT world is every single thing digitized, which is way cooler to think about than celebrities.
Brilliant. Anybody want to jump in before we call it?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that celebrity talk. I think celebrities at the end of the day are influencers, and every celebrity has an area of influence, some bigger, some smaller. But I think for this to go global, it needs to go to high well-known IPs. I know some of the companies here are working with high-end IPs and really well-known brands. I think the area of influence of a brand, a big brand, even soccer leagues, for example, or music, it's really broad and really big, and it goes beyond what a single person can do. And I think there's an opportunity there for brands to interact directly to consumers and broaden their access. And I think that brands can use the NFTs as a new platform or as a new medium to connect to audiences and to provide content, and as well as a new product opportunities for the brands. So I think that's where the real magic will start happening, with when people see stuff that they already know at a global level, really well-known IPs and brands start doing NFTs. I think that's when things will start to get really, really real and grow really fast.
Good stuff. Brian, any final thoughts from you before we wrap it up?
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. I mean, it's already happening. So where we've got Liverpool, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Juventus, PSG, Antoine Griezmann, Gerard Piqué, that you might know, Nacho, if you're based in Spain. So I think, it's already happening. And from our personal perspective, whenever we sign one of these big clubs, we see more new users coming in, more trust within what we're building. So for sure, brands and influencers are a massive, massive change to the game. And to NFTs. And so, seeing these guys engage with NFTs on social media is a big, show of strength for the whole sector.
Good stuff. I think we're just out of time, so I think we'll go back to David and Maya, but I want to thank all of you for your time and for some really interesting thoughts as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks. You.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Hello,
All
everyone.
right. It was a great panel and amazing discussion. Actually, Scott Cipollini is an investigative journalist, so I believe he really gave a hard time to the panelists, although they nailed it perfectly. I believe we are basically done with the agenda, and I see a lot of questions again about the competition. So if you want to join the competition and share the prize pool of $5,000 provided by Bondi and Juggernaut, please register with Eventbrite. Make sure you register for our next events. And soon you will receive some simple questions from us. So if you answer them correctly, we will choose 10 winners at random, and each winner will get $500. Wow.
Next session, one subject that divides the community: NFT, bullish or bearish? Are we in a bubble? Where are we right now? There is a side. What is going to save NFT? What is going to kill NFT? You will know everything on the episode 3 of NFT Tuesday: bullish or bearish investment, buying NFTs. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, everyone, Scott, and I forget one or two people, but really, and thank you all of you guys to have been on the chat and live. We were more than 2,000 on peak of audience. It's fantastic. Do not forget to thumbs up these things, and I see you on next Tuesday. Bye bye.
Looking forward to see you again.